high grades.
How can anybody get a D in home ec?
If that's none of your business, can you erase this, please?
No, it's too late.
What are you doing?
I'm changing your biology grade.
No, I don't want you to do that. You're going to get me in trouble.
No, nobody can find out. There, you just got a C. Now you don't have to go to summer school.
Change it back.
Why? They can't possibly...
I said change it back.
Okay, okay.
Gee, that's great. Now that we can plug into the school's computer, the next step is to plug into the Defense Department's computer and start World War III and War Games, a movie about a teenager who's just a little too clever with his computer. It's one of 4 new movies we'll be reviewing this week, and across the aisle from me is Gene Siskel, film critic of the Chicago Tribune.
And across the aisle from me, Roger Ebert, film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times. Now, in addition to War Games, we'll also be reviewing a boxing picture in which a country singer finds out whether he's tough enough. Also, a political mystery called Harlequin with a weird magician. But now Roger begins with the first of the summer's new 3D movies.
Well, our first movie is called Spacehunter. It's subtitled Adventures in the Forbidden Zone. And this is the first of a whole deluge of 3D movies that are scheduled for release later this summer, including Jaws 3D, Amityville 3D. The sad thing is, Spacehunter is entertaining enough in 2D that 3D only slows it down and kind of destroys the fun. The movie stars Peter Strauss as a buccaneering spaceman who answers a mayday call from a spaceship that's crashed on a plague planet, and his mission is to rescue the marooned spacers before the locals kill him or he dies of the plague. And in this scene, he teams up with an orphaned earthling who lives on the planet, and she's played by Molly Ringwald.
This thing doesn't float.
There's shallows in here. You just gotta look for them. I'll track you. Shallows are on that side. Second bath in 2 days. Not to do me for the next year.
Dickie?
Good breeding man. I'll bet breeding with us would kill him.
I'll take that bet.
Later in the film, Strauss enters the Forbidden Zone, populated by creatures half dead from the plague.
We can be friends. Just let me go.
No, you don't understand. I'm very old, and I need you. I'm tired, little one. Of course you are. You see, when you give yourself to me, there's nothing left for you.
Hang in there.
I love that absolutely standard music that's out of every space movie ever made. Spacehunter is not a, you know what I mean? This movie is not a masterpiece, but it's a reasonably entertaining movie. It has some good performances in it, and here's my question. If you're going to go to all the trouble to make a good movie, why mess it up with 3D? Because no matter what they say about these new 3D processes, they all make the picture look dim, look murky, and washed out on the screen, and the 3D effects themselves are only a distraction from a good story. Looking at those same scenes in 2D right here on television, I can relate to them a lot better than when I was ducking to get out of the way of the foreground in the movie theater. And frankly, I can't recommend this movie in 3D, but if it turned up on cable or on television, I'd look at it.
And if it turned up on cable or television, I wouldn't. I think this is an awful picture if it were in 1D. All it is he picks up this girl. Will they get together or will they won't? What do you think's going to happen? Then they get to the cave. 5 minutes, the movie's over after he confronts that guy they call the overdog, that creep hung up there with the heavy breathing. I thought this was an empty little movie, and your point about special 3D is well taken. All that is effective are the titles that come way out. The rest of it, you look like you're looking through a telescope.
They do not. They brag, as a matter of fact, that they don't throw a lot of things at the audience.
I would have preferred that.
The question would be, if you're not going to throw things at the audience, why do it in 3D? I defend it, though, as a basic kind of 50s space opera, a silly kind of let's go to another planet and run around and have adventures and look at strange things kind of movie.
I thought it was less interesting than any of the Star Wars pictures that are shot in
that's for sure.
That are shot in 2D, and this is a rip-off to me.
Well, I'm not recommending it if that'll make you any happier.
It'll make me any happier. Okay. Coming up next at the movies, the story of a young video game player who comes close to starting World War III.
I have 7, correction 8. That's 8 redbirds, 2 degrees past apogee.
Over day, we have Soviet missile warning. Check for malfunction and report competent.
Our next film has a terrific story idea. It's the story of a bright, cheerful teenage boy who is bored by his high school classes but enjoys fiddling around with video games and with the computer in his bedroom. At the beginning of the film, he's using his home computer to try to tap into the computer of a toy company and steal their latest video game. Instead, he winds up tapping into the top-secret Defense Department computer that controls our nuclear defense system.
Wow. We're in. It thinks I'm Vulcan.
Shall we play a game?
Let's play. Global thermonuclear war.
Fine.
All right.
I have 7, correction 8. That's 8 redbirds, 2 degrees past apogee.
Better get the old man down here.
Over day, we have Soviet missile warning. Check for malfunction and report competent.
What the hell?
Confidence is high. I repeat, confidence is high. Over day, is this an exercise? This is not an exercise.
What is all that stuff?
I don't know. They're trajectory headings for multiple impact re-entry vehicles.
What does that mean?
I don't know, but it's great.
Now, at that point, that kid doesn't realize what's going on. He thinks he's just playing some kind of video game. He doesn't realize all the havoc he's creating. It's a terrific premise for a movie, and things get even wilder when shades of Dr. Strangelove, the Missile Command Center we saw there in Colorado, comes very close to launching a full strike against Russia when their computers, controlled by this little kid, show that Russia is sending off megatons of firepower our way. And just as all hell is about to break loose, young David, that little guy, is in the command center trying to explain what's going on.
Well, David, we called your parents. You know, we told them everything's fine. No charge has been filed yet. But I think we are going to need a little time to sort things out here.
How much time?
Well, that depends on how willing you are to cooperate.
Oh, of course.
I tell you what, Sergeant, would you tell the OD I'm going to take David for a little walk? Let's go down to my office. Be more comfortable there.
Great.
When you heard it on the news, you must have realized how serious it was. Why'd you do it again?
I didn't do it again. I even threw the number away.
Yeah, they found it in the trash, I know.
Joshua called me. Hey, look at that. That's some setup.
What'd you say?
This is some setup.
No, before that.
Joshua called me.
David, machines don't call people.
Yours did.
Who are you going to Paris with?
Paris? Oh, no, you don't understand.
Now, you had reservations for 2 to Paris. Who are you working with?
Nobody.
Why don't I believe you?
I don't think I should say anything else until I talk to a lawyer.
I think we better forget about the lawyer crap until I get a few answers out of you myself.
Now, there are a lot of questions in that scene. A little bit with the flights to Paris is another little trick he was playing on his computer. And he's right. He didn't initiate this second attempt at getting into their computer. A computer that they have is starting to play a game with itself. War Games is quite entertaining as long as it stays with that kid and his computer and the generals and the technicians in the command center, Dabney Coleman there. But toward the end, the film falls a little flat when we are introduced to an old retired scientist who preaches the very obvious anti-nuclear war point that the movie has already made in a much more entertaining way. For me, take out the old professor and War Games is terrific. With the professor, it's just very entertaining.
Leave the professor in. That's fabulous because it brings it all around. It makes the movie not just a war game, but a story. The basic theme of this movie is, who should we trust, the computers or human beings?
Right.
And the movie starts out with the fact that there are some men who cannot bring themselves to fire missiles in a test. So at the end, it comes back around to men again. I think that's a very important point. Apart from that, I agree, it's a fantastically entertaining movie.
Oh, very entertaining. I just think that we don't need a lecturer. I think that this movie is so well made pictorially and is so much fun, and we realize that the computers are going haywire, that little kids are going to get the point that we don't need the ponderous lecture that we probably would have gotten in films 20 or 30 years ago.
First of all, it's not a ponderous lecture. The guy is a very negative person. He's not giving them a lecture about peace. He's saying, this is all going to end. We're all going to get killed. What difference does it make if it happens now or next year?
We know what he's saying, Raj. I mean, it's just, I don't need that guy walking in there.
We're having kind of a negative conversation here. Would we both agree this is a terrifically entertaining movie?
I said it's very entertaining.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best films of the year.
With just one little problem.
I like the whole film, including the little problem. Our next movie, Tough Enough, is a goofy little sleeper of a movie that's better than it sounds. This movie's about those tough man contests you might have read about in the newspapers, promotions where all the saloon fighters and amateur tough guys in some town slug it out in an arena somewhere so the winner will get $5 grand maybe. In this scene, Dennis Quaid plays a would-be country and western singer who decides to sign up for the Tough Man contest so he can pay the rent. And Warren Oates plays the fight promoter.
Art Long, Fort Worth, Texas. Why'd you enter the Tough Man contest, Art?
I was a battered child.
You're the guy in the bar, right?
Yeah, I'm the grappling guitar man.
Good. Good luck.
And now, once he's signed up, there's no turning back.
Will Eisenhower, Ike Kennedy, come on down. Will the country western warrior, Art Long, come on down.
You're right, son.
Keep your hands in his face! Keep your hands in his face! Move!
Break, go to your corner.
I want you to keep that right hand in his face. I want you to jab him, come back, and pivot with your left, hook him to the body, and hook him right back to the head, then stick him back with that right hand. Now, can you remember all that? No. That's too bad.
That's Stan Shaw is the trainer in the corner there. He's the co-star of this movie. He and Dennis Quaid have a nice rapport as a couple of guys who basically realize that the Tough Man contests are phony and rigged, but they get caught up in the whole process anyway. Tough Enough has one basic flaw. It has too many fight scenes, so they get repetitious instead of building up to a big climax at the end, like Rocky, all the Rocky movies do. But in between the fights, Tough Enough has some nice offbeat observations of the human natures of its goofy characters, and I like those observations enough to sort of recommend the movie, mildly anyway.
Oh, you're backing down as you talk.
What do you mean backing down as I talk?
Mildly, sort of. Let me tell you this.
I'd say go see it.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't. No, I say this is probably a low end of the average TV movie. I thought that you're right. The fight scenes, Rocky has one big fight scene at the end. It's a great formula. This film has 3 main fights with this guy and parts of 7 other fights.
Yeah.
It's a bloodbath, and I really found it. You know, I don't like boxing, and I think yet the Rocky films are tremendously appealing. The Rocky films have somehow figured out how to make boxing tolerable. This is just a bloodbath, and you see a lot of amateur falling around pratfalls and people getting hurt.
Well, okay, while agreeing with your point about the fights, and I agree with that, I still think that Dennis Quaid and Stan Shaw and some of the other people in the movie,
actors.
Warren Oates in particular as the promoter, are interesting enough that I'll give the movie a pass.
These are nice actors, but they are playing out fairly unimportant characters, particularly the late Warren Oates, who gives a marvelous performance here, but we never see any of his private life. It's just a sort of empty story. No, I know. I wish it had been.
Okay,
it would have been more interesting than this pug fighter. Coming up next at the movies, a thriller about a magician who can heal the sick and transform himself into a bird. Our next film is a 3-year-old thriller called Harlequin that is only now receiving national release. And let's put it this way, we haven't missed much by not seeing this picture sooner. Harlequin is about a politician, David Hemmings, whose political career is on the rise. At the same time, his little boy has contracted leukemia. And then all of a sudden, a mysterious man appears who cures the little boy and does magic tricks in front of David Hemmings' powerful political friends.
What sort of miracle would you like to see, Benny? Shall I make frogs rain from the ceiling? Or shall I turn lead into gold? No? Perhaps something more sophisticated, more spectacular. Perhaps I should make a grown man vanish at sea.
Well, the doctor says you're a phony. Give me an answer.
Senator Ross, I'm afraid your magician friend is becoming a bit of a bore.
I agree with you.
Why are you frightened, Doctor? It's only a magic show. Right, Mr. Wolf.
Only magic indeed, Miss Twist. Stunts and illusions. Humbug and deception. Flim-flam. And hocus-pocus.
That guy would be a lot of fun to have at your home, especially if you have a piano you don't mind being bounced on the floor. The guy can make a cymbal dart through the air, turn into a bird, but his character isn't strong enough to make this movie interesting. The subplot with the diseased little boy is really repellent. The political intrigue is meaningless. We don't even know what country this movie is supposed to be set in.
We don't even care.
True. And we simply wait then to the conclusion to figure out who is this mysterious magician. And here's the bad news. We never find out exactly who he is. This is a boring, ineptly made film.
This is a boring movie, and it has a couple of basic problems with it. One of them is with that actor, Robert Powell, who plays the magician. Now, he's supposed to be the good guy, and I found him so creepy and so unlikable that I sat through the whole movie hating him, which is kind of a fatal flaw when you like the villain, David Hemmings, better than the hero. Right. And there's another problem. There's a basic plot question in this movie as to whether or not this magician is doing real magic.
Yeah.
And you could never figure that out when the movie is cheating on you. Now, that scene that we just saw, he throws the symbol.
Right.
The symbol leaves the frame.
Right.
Then they use a machine called an optical printer to superimpose a bird flapping.
Right.
So that you know, if you're watching the movie, that it's a trick. Later on, when the one guy has a bird over his head and the other guy has the symbol, you can look at the screen and see that it's a movie trick, not a magician's trick. So that it's so phony, you know, you feel insulted that you're asked to care.
Cheaply made. And did you have the same reaction to the little kid, the leukemia kid, trotted in for the first 30 minutes of this? I don't know why they did that.
Yeah, just it made me feel unclean that they're going to try to make a plot point with this little kid.
Yeah.
Right. Next up at the movies, Cheech and Chong in another drug-crazed comedy.
Yeah, I was there during the 60s when the universe meant something.
Sniffing his way into the balcony to pick out the week's worst movie, here he is, Aroma, the Educated Skunk.
You know what we found out? He loves pecans. Watch this.
Look at that, look at that.
Go to it, knock yourself out, and you should try caramel corn after that. Still Smoking is the worst movie I've seen this year. It's the new Cheech and Chong comedy, and this time the stoned hipsters are really trashing their audience by releasing something that barely qualifies as a feature film. It's an ugly-looking travelogue of tired gags following the boys as they go to the Amsterdam Film Festival and are mistaken for Burt Reynolds and Dolly Parton, even though there are people there with signs of the real Burt and Dolly. I guess that's a joke. Other gags include the boys bending their butts into the camera as tag team wrestlers.
We have an excellent card on tap for you tonight, ladies and gentlemen, featuring the Italian champion Bruno Hakalugi and his tag team partner, Japanese Ichi Scratchy. How the boys look to you tonight, Aaron Mike?
Well, the Italian looks pretty good. Pretty good. A little greasy, but pretty good.
That's more of Cheech's cheeks than anyone wants to see. The finish is 20 minutes of a concert in Amsterdam where, among other things, the boys pretend to be dogs and smell each other's butts. You get the drift of the humor here. This is the worst of the Cheech and Chong comedies, and based on what I've thought of their other lousy pictures, that's saying a lot.
Did you like it?
I think they're going to actually lose fans from this picture. I think this is not a motion picture, and I think that any fan that goes and sees it is going to really feel ripped off.
Better give Aroma an extra pecan nut bar for
look, he's
that one.
Just finishing now.
Okay, let's take another look at the main movies on this program. We vote thumbs down on Spacehunter, the 3D movie that was sabotaged by 3D. We split on Tough Enough, the fight movie about Tough Man contests. 2 big thumbs up for War Games, the terrific new thriller about runaway computers. And 2 thumbs down for Harlequin, the silly movie about a dime boy and a would-be magician. It's a complete mess. And so I guess the one we really agree on is War Games, which I think is one of the best movies of the year.
I think it's very entertaining. That's it for this week. Next week on At the Movies, we'll review the new James Bond picture, Octopussy, with Roger Moore and Maude Adams. And until then, we'll see you at the movies.
Pan American, whether it's business or pleasure or a little bit of both across the country and around the world, Pan Am, you can't beat the experience. America's favorite movie candies are coming home. Now enjoy Raisinets, Goobers, and Snowcaps at home and at the movies, star attractions for your movie time pleasure. New AutoFresh flow-through car air freshener attaches to your air vent and circulates freshness throughout your car. Another fresh new idea from Johnson Wax.